As you can see, got my hair cut, but I'm sick now, so it's always something. What's good everyone on YouTube? It's me again, back with another video. And today, going back on the topic of Nike, I get to actually talk about one of my favorite shoe models to exist in all of history. So, for those that don't know, the Air Max Plus, or the TNs for all my people in Australia, last year actually was celebrating its 20th anniversary. And it's pretty crazy to think that this shoe is still being retro to this day after 20 years. But to mark this sort of monumentous moment, Nike actually decided to retro some of the OG colorways. So we had the Tigers, the Purples, which are actually not an OG colorway but based off a sketch, and the ones we have here today on the channel. So I won't faff around too much, let's just get into it. So today we have the Air Max Plus OG in the Hyper Blue colorway. So yeah, with the intro out of the way, let's get into the box. So to mark the special sort of 20th anniversary, we actually get some nice packaging to go along with it. So we've got this shelf style box with the TN badge on each side. And then on the top, we've actually got the nice gradient print of the Hyper Blue colorway, as well as the veins that you would find typically on an Air Max Plus. And what was really cool was if you bought all three of the retros and put them all together, you'd actually get this nice sort of big collage of like the medial or lateral side of the shoe. So really feeding into that idea of collecting. I wasn't gonna fall for it, I almost did. And then once we pull open the box, the special edition stuff doesn't actually stop there. We've actually got some pretty special paper. It's got these sketch sort of designs and notes, and it's a really nice addition in my opinion to this anniversary edition. I'm gonna pull the paper out because we've actually got some standard packing paper. No need to see that. And then what was weird and something I've never seen before, we actually got these anatomical arch support pads. The package is actually empty. I'll shoot some B-roll because I've actually put it on my insoles. But there's sort of these like sort of green foam things that go where your arches are, and it's supposed to give you more support. So nice that they've got some customizability. And then actually on the inside, we've got this Air Max Plus anniversary sort of paragraph. And the paragraph's quite long, so I'm not going to include it in the video, but I will put some footage here so that if you want to read it, you can just pause the video and have a look. And we've moved to the side, it reads Air Max Plus OG. So, the retail price on these. In Australia, when these retro, they were actually upcharged $10 to 260 Australian dollars. I didn't pay this. And clothing actually had free shipping and a better retail price, so I ended up picking up these shoes for 215 Australian dollars. I'll put the conversion here. And for 215, honestly, you don't get that price very often for Air Max Pluses, so I was quite happy with that. So, with the box out of the way, let's get into the shoes. And here we are. The Air Max Plus OG in the Hyper Blue colorway. So, the most defining feature for me, at least on this colorway, is the gradient. And this was actually something that was really lauded for its innovation when it was first released. So we've got this sort of nice gradient that fades from like a sky blue to a more like deep, like royal blue almost. And I just think the gradient really adds to this aggressive nature of this shoe. And also synonymous with the TN are these TPU lines that run across the entire shoe. I've said this before in some other videos, or maybe I haven't, but I can't stand TNs without the lines. I actually think they look horrible. But with the lines, I feel like that is what the TN is. So you've got these lines that run along the side. On the toe box, they sort of curve into like a sort of hexagonal shape. And then we've also got these sort of lines that run along the toe and up the tongue, and these lines are actually 3M reflective, so when you hit the shoe with flash, you'll actually get a nice pop to it. And then moving to the toe, we've actually got a toe guard, and in this particular colorway, we've actually got it in a clear plastic. And then we've got these hits of yellow along the shoe, so we've got it on the check, got it on the tongue, as well as in the air units themselves. And then signature to the Air Max Plus, we've got the TN Air on the heel, and this is where the shoe gets its sort of nickname as the TNs in Australia, or maybe around the world. I just know it in Australia. And moving down the shoe, we reach the sort of iconic like TN Air cushioning. So you've got these chambers in the back and chambers in the front. And TN cushioning was supposed to be like tuned air. So each of the chambers would actually have different PSIs. Not sure if they do it these days, but there you go. And then if you flip to the bottom, we've actually got the standard sort of traction, as well as this like, you know, shake plate in plastic with the TN Air logo as well. And fun fact actually, if you guys didn't know, everything from a size 9.5 and down have 4 chambers in the back, whereas everything from a size 10 and up actually have 5 chambers. So if you're legit checking TNs, there you go. So that pretty much covers the main features of this Air Max Plus for now. In terms of sizing, I found that because of the type of mesh they use, which was a little more stiff than some other retros, I found that these fit a little narrower than the regular Air Max Pluses. But I would still say, if you have a standard to narrow foot, you should probably still go true to size. If you have really wide feet, I would probably recommend going up half a size. So these are US 9.5, I'm natively a 9.5, and they fit me okay. A little tight, but not unbearable. Now in terms of comfort, despite the fact that this is now, what, 21 years, a 21-year-old shoe, the shoe is still fairly serviceable. I can actually feel the air unit, especially this back chamber where the black paint is covering. This chamber seems to be the softest out of all of them. You can really feel it when you're like walking around. I can't feel much in the forefoot, but honestly that's kind of par for the course for retro Air Maxes. The upper, because of the slightly stiffer mesh, it does seem to reduce the flexibility. And I do get some like toe cutting in the forefoot of the shoe, but I feel like it'll probably break in with time. I just haven't worn these all that much, that's why I'm touching them. But overall, I would say, you know, for comfort, it's pretty standard for what you'd expect for an Air Max shoe. Now I get into the part of the video where I talk about my opinions on this shoe, and I'll just start it off. Easily the best OG colorway for me is actually the Hyper Blue colorway. I've never actually owned any of the previous retros or even the OGs. Couldn't own the OGs, I was not of age to own something like that. So this is actually the first time I've ever owned this. But even as someone who's never owned some of the retros, while I do love this shoe, there are like 3 things I could probably point out that I don't really like. The first thing is the veins on the back part from this point forward, from this point back, are actually thicker than regular Air Max Pluses, and it's a small thing that it just bothers me that slightest bit. The second thing that I really don't like about this particular retro compared to the 2014s was that the yellow they used in the air units is a distinctly different color to the check. I felt like in the 2013-14 retro, it was actually much closer to match each other, so that's another thing. And the third thing, and it's not as noticeable on this particular air unit, but on my right shoe, the black paint around the air unit was done pretty shoddy. I kind of wish the quality control was a little tighter on something that's supposed to be a anniversary edition, 20th, you know, edition kind of shoe. But overall, I can't knock this shoe too hard. This is the only retro I've ever had access to for a reasonable price. And honestly, like the Air Max Plus, for those that don't know, the Air Max Plus was actually my first ever like nice shoe that I ever received. I mean, I didn't buy it at the time, my parents bought it for me, but I had like this black and grey pair, and there's a big amount of nostalgia for me for this particular model. And to own it in an OG colorway, it always has some nice sort of like sentiment and feeling to it. So overall, I would say that if you're a fan of the Air Max Plus, honestly, this is still a pretty good option to go for. And yeah, lost a bit of steam there, but hey, that's what these videos are anyway. So with that, we've actually come to the end of another video. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about the Air Max Plus in the Hyper Blue colorway. And out of those 3 retros that happened in that pack, which was your favorite? So for me, I would say the Hyper Blues were definitely my favorite. I have them. Then honestly, I'd probably say the Tigers, even though orange is not my color. I just think the gradient on that was really nice. And then the purples will probably last for me just because the blue's better, but Can't knock them, they're all really good. But I'd love to hear what you have to say. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video, and if you're into more sneaker content, consider subscribing to the channel. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And I'll catch you guys in another video.